Hey guys, today I'm custom painting the V-Zeon Gundam. So after I got this guy, I decided that he needed a better paint scheme. So I mixed together some rust red paint, and after priming the whole kit, I went through and painted that. This process could be tedious if you're using an airbrush, so you may want to stick to spray paints for the vast majority of the body. Now, if you're doing something like shading, you might want to go with an airbrush, but personally I would go with spray paint or some type of larger airbrush than the hobby one that I have. If you're using an airbrush, you do want to do a lot of light coats rather than one heavy coat, just to get a nice clean surface over it. After I painted the rust red, I went through with a darker red on all of the parts that were originally a maroon color, and I went through and painted those. Just to be clear, you want to prime all of the parts before you paint them. I didn't prime the dark parts because the paint I was using was a spray primer paint, so you really do want to prime, otherwise the paint won't stick to the plastic that you're trying to paint. Another trick for painting is to have like tweezers or a little clamp piece to hold the small parts while you paint them. That way you can cover as much of the surface as possible and you don't have to do as many coats of paint. After painting the darker red color, I went through with a gunmetal on all of the dark gray parts just to represent the inner frame. I just used a Tester's dark gunmetal color, and this is flat. All of the paints that I'm using are flat, just to give it a more weathered look than the Gundam has in the cartoon that it's in. If you don't feel like buying a gunmetal color, you could always just buy a black paint and mix it with some silver just to get the right shade that you want. I felt that this paint was a little darker than I wanted, so that might have been a better alternative. Also, if you're running low on paint, you can put in lacquer thinner to water down the paint that's in the airbrush at the moment, and then to clean out the brush to get all of the drops of paint in and sprayed out. Next, I applied a brass gold color to the gold plastic injection parts just to cover up the texture that plastic has. You could mix in a darker color into this paint to give it a little bit more of a worn look, but I wasn't really going for that on the blaster parts anyways. When applying a metallic coat, it's really best to apply a black base coat just to bring out the shine, but I didn't feel that was necessary for this. I then went through and panel lined all of the parts using some panel liner that I bought at my hobby shop. I just applied this. I didn't go through with any paint remover and get rid of the excess streaks or anything, just because I was going for a pretty worn look, and the panel liner really helps sell that if you leave it on there and don't brush it away after you're done with it. I do advise that you go over the larger crevices with 2 or 3 coats of the panel liner. After I applied all the panel liner to all the parts, I went through with a sponge and dry brushed on all of the exposed edges to make it look as if the paint had been worn off and there was metal revealed underneath, and that just helped sell the weathered look that I was going for. Here's the final product, and I think it turned out pretty good. I like the flat look to it, and the weathering definitely looks pretty nice. If you guys want to see any more of my videos, be sure to like and subscribe. See ya.